People under 35 are the ones that create change. People over 45 are actually dead to creating change. This was actually said by a prominent investor at a huge conference recently. And another investor said, he told the New York Times, in the investor's mind, the cutoff age is 32. Thank you. Yes. Now, I know this from personal experience because I've sat across the table, I've talked to them, I've seen their face when they looked at me, and they thought, yeah, he's not for us. And I know this because I'm not 20. I'm 42, right? I didn't just start shaving my face. I just started shaving my ears. Yeah. Hashtag real thing. You young people, wait for it. Serious. I don't wear a baseball hat to look cool. I wear it so my bald head doesn't get destroyed by the sun. Right? I am nothing that they were looking for. And so I figured we needed a new model. And so this is where we came up with the Cul-De-Sac Startup. It's very simple. It's you keep your day job, and you use 3 principles I learned in the cul-de-sac to create something. And you do it in the cracks of your life. And I believe if we unleash this army of entrepreneurs, the next Silicon Valley could actually be suburbia. There are so many people who don't believe that they can do this. And I was shocked. The stats actually tell the opposite story. Harvard did a huge study of startups that have generated over $1 million in revenue, and what they found was the average age of the CEO was 39, and there were twice as many that were over 50 than were under 25. It's a paradigm shift. And I was moved when I heard a quote from Les Brown. And he said, "The richest place on the planet is the grave, because it's full of songs that were never sung, books that were never written, and inventions that were never made." And I think we have to destroy that. I'm tired for myself. I don't want to write my checks to the grave. I don't want that to be my legacy. And so I created this new model. Now, let me tell you a little bit about where I came from, because that's going to help explain where I've gotten. So I grew up in rural Washington State in a very small town called Rainier, raised by a single mom that milked cows and made $2.35 an hour. Grew up in a single-wide mobile home, and I remember the first day I walked out to kindergarten, I walked out of that mobile home. And when I graduated high school, I walked back into that same mobile home. I had many family members that had never graduated high school. I didn't believe that a startup was even possible for someone like me. I didn't think it was possible. But let me share with you a few things that I've been blessed and able to do as a cul-de-sac entrepreneur. I brokered a $10 million NASCAR deal. The first NASCAR race I ever went to, I sat with the crew chief for Robbie Gordon Motorsports in Texas Motor Speedway. It was surreal. I helped start one of the largest Bronco fan sites called Bronco Planet. We grew to over 10,000 members in 90 days. I got to meet and interview amazing athletes. Imported a product from Europe and even had a chance to pitch it on the Home Shopping Network. And most recently, started an app called Digital Fridge. And it's a 5-star app, been downloaded in 70 countries. We won Denver's Hottest Showcasing Startup. It's been surreal. But I had to have a new model, a cul-de-sac model. So let's get to the principles. There's 3 of them. Number 1, get exhausted. I need everyone in here to raise your right hand as high as you possibly can, quickly. Now raise it a little higher. All right, you all failed. Thank you. I literally asked you raise it as high as you possibly could, and 5 seconds later, you raised it a little higher. I mean, serious. We all keep some capacity back. A lot of us fear failure, fear of being hurt, lots of reasons. We keep capacity back. But I found one thing in life that you cannot keep anything back. This is a picture of my daughter. Yeah, you cannot get more sleep than she is. I wish you could... Seriously, I wish you could see her. There's slobber on her face. I mean, she's done. She's wrecked. And guess where she just came back from? A play date. There is one thing in life where you cannot keep that capacity back, and it's play. You want to get exhausted? Find something that to you feels like play. When we started Digital Fridge, I always say we're one of the most fertile startups in the world, right? We all have, I think our average, like 4.5 kids. I mean, it's crazy. But we're passionate about capturing memories. And we created this photo app because to us it felt like play. People used to always ask me, Pete, how do you work all day and then go home and work some more? And I said, I don't. I go home and play. Right? We did QA at soccer games, birthday parties, lacrosse matches. We played. Find something that feels like play. Next, get sticks. I remember it was a Saturday morning. I walked down the cul-de-sac, and there's about 12 kids playing kickball. And I wanted to be part of it so bad. But I pull my hamstring really easy. So I yelled out to my son, and I said, Cole, I'm going to run to Target, and I'm going to buy some bases. And he said, Dad, we don't need bases. We got sticks. Right? And they had gathered sticks and made bases. I tell you, if you want to see execution, go to the cul-de-sac, right? They make up rules and play and then argue, right? But play is key. They start playing. And so it wasn't but 2 weeks later, I had a young entrepreneur come to me and said he wanted me to review his business plan. So we met at Starbucks on a Saturday, and I looked at the business plan. He was looking for $110,000, and in my head I kept hearing sticks. And so I said, you know what? Let's go for a drive. So we drove to Best Buy. He had a technical product that he needed. We spent some time. We found something that would do for the time. We spent $78. And he was trying to sell into restaurants. So we started driving around, went to 8 restaurants. The 9th restaurant, we got a customer. An hour and a half, $78. We turned that $110,000 business plan into a $78 business plan, and he had a customer and a product. In life, you got to find sticks. Next, you got to get to know your neighbors. This is one thing in the cul-de-sac the kids do amazing. They get to know their neighbors, and it's a little selfish why they do it. Because guess what? If they run out of bubbles and they need bubbles, guess who has bubbles? The neighbors. If they want to do some chalk art and they used all their chalk art and they don't have any, guess who does? The neighbors. Let's say they want to play baseball or football or baseball or on a trampoline and they don't have one of those. Guess who does? The neighbors. Thank you very much. You've got to build community. I am so blessed that I have a great partner in Rob, and that I have great friends that help me, and that I have a community around me. And there's actually science behind why you do this. The New England Journal of Medicine studied the top 4 diets in one of the largest studies ever done. Over 10 years, thousands of people. And what they found is they all produced the exact same result, and it was very small. With one exception. If the ingredient of community was there, the result was 225% higher. If you don't have community, you got to find community for this model to work. And there are some beautiful benefits if you use this model. Number 1, it makes you better at your day job. This is the biggest paradigm in the world that I want to crush. The most common question I get is, how does your company let you do that? Let's flip it just a little bit. Somebody who trains for a triathlon, does that make them better or worse at their job? It makes them better. How about somebody who volunteers on the weekend? Does that make them better or worse? It makes them better. If you learn these philosophies and you find something that feels like play, and you bring the philosophy of get sticks, you will be better at your job. Secondly, is it creates longevity. And what I mean by this is we've had some meetings with venture capitalists, and they've said, well, what's your monthly cost? And I'm like, it's about $45 a month. And they're like, man, $45,000. I'm like, no, $45. Right. Now, granted, once a year we have to pay, renew our URL. That's like $100. So add that to it. It creates longevity. I've seen apps come into the space that are far better than ours. And they're gone after 18 months because they have no longevity. This model lets you build longevity. And I love Biz Stone, the founder of Twitter. Someone was talking to him about being an overnight success. And he had this quote. And he said, timing, perseverance, and 10 years of trying. And you too can be an overnight success. Yeah. Overnight success, it's a misnomer. But this is my favorite piece. The reason. This is really why I do it. And I first saw this when I coached my son's soccer team. And I remember it was my first season coaching, his first season playing, and our very first game, he takes the ball and he goes all the way down the field. He scores the first goal of his first season, of my first season, for the other team. Yeah. And they're like, parents are behind me, whose kid is that? I'm like, the coach. Sorry. But the brilliant thing was all of a sudden they started like jumping up and down, man. They had no idea what was going on. They're partying. I mean, literally, there was a kid running down the sideline like an airplane, screaming, "Goal!" And then I looked at this little group, and I'm like, there's a kid in there celebrating from the other team. They don't even know what team they're on. Fascinating. The assistant coach and I are like, oh, the high five? I don't know. It's whatever. But this model will redefine what success actually is. One thing you learn from kids, man, is just enjoy. Enjoy the moment. Enjoy it. And I had a beautiful illustration of this from my mom. So my mom, who is my hero, who I mentioned earlier, 10 years ago, she was 52. I'm driving home from work and I get a call. And she says, "You'll never believe what just happened." And she's so excited. And I said, "What?" And she said, "I learned how to swim." She's 52, never knew how to swim. I learned how to swim. And I'm thinking, man, she must have got a coach. She's at YMCA, whatever. I said, "Where'd you go?" And she said, "Ganell's pool." Well, Ganell's my sister. I know Ganell's pool. It's about 10 feet across and like 4 feet deep. I don't even know if you can swim across it. But her definition of success was redefined, and I call it 1 is greater than 1,000. But if you try to always focus on the thousands, you'll miss all these great ones. And the Cul-De-Sac Startup, what it does is allows you to find joy in all these ones. One after one after one. Eventually those add up to 1,000. And so if you follow this model, I believe it's a new way to think, and I think we can unleash this model. But one final rule of the cul-de-sac, it's very simple. It's get there early, stay late, and enjoy the ride. Thank you.